They said they were saving lives, but the only thing they were saving was their own greed. They took the money I donated in my late wife's memory and turned it into champagne, yachts, and lies. But when you scam a retired accountant, you don't just steal. You start an audit you'll never survive. If you've ever been taken advantage of for being too kind, hit that subscribe button right now. Because this isn't just about revenge, it's about what happens when truth finally corners the lies. Stay with me. Because by the end of this story, justice won't just be served, it'll be balanced to the penny. Let's begin. My name is Arthur Blake. I'm 62 years old and I live in a quiet little town in Vermont. The kind where you can hear the snow falling if you just stand still long enough. 2 winters ago, my wife, Grace, passed away from cancer. She was my anchor, my best friend, the quiet laughter that filled the house every morning with the smell of coffee and her favorite cinnamon rolls. When she was gone, everything dimmed. You don't realize how loud love is until silence replaces it. In her final days, hospice care gave her something I couldn't: comfort, dignity. They let her go gently, and in that kindness, I made a promise. I'd pay that compassion forward. So when I came across an organization called Healing Hands Foundation, claiming to fund hospice services for families in need, it felt like fate. Like Grace had nudged me from wherever she was and whispered, "Help them, Art. Help them the way they helped me." That's how I met Brad and Tessa. They were the kind of couple that made you forget to be cynical, young, charismatic, full of energy. Brad had that effortless confidence, the type of guy who could sell sunlight to a lamp factory. And Tessa? She had warmth. She called me Mr. Blake at first, but within weeks it was just Arthur, said with a kind of gentle familiarity that made the loneliness fade for a while. Brad would stop by for coffee, always in a hurry, but somehow always making time to check in. He'd pat my shoulder and say things like, "You're the reason we can do what we do, Arthur. People like you make the world worth saving." It sounds corny now, but back then I needed to hear it. So I started donating. A few hundred at first, then 1,000. When Tessa sent me photos of hospice families they claimed to have helped, smiling faces, thank you letters typed on clean stationery, I felt proud. Grace would have been proud too, I thought. But pride has a way of blinding you, doesn't it? It wraps you up like a warm blanket, even while the floor beneath you starts to rot. It started with a simple receipt. I'd sent in a $5,000 donation that spring. I asked for documentation. Old accountant habits die hard. A week later, I received a form showing that nearly $3,750 of that was marked as administrative fees. I called Tessa. She laughed, that breezy, sunlit laugh of hers that could smooth over anything. "Oh, Arthur, paperwork's messy. We're expanding so fast, these things get mixed up, but every cent goes toward the mission, I promise." Her reassurance felt warm enough to melt the doubt, and I wanted to believe her, so I did. But doubt, once planted, doesn't die. It waits. A month later, they invited me to a donor appreciation gala. Their words, "Arthur, you're our most cherished contributor." It was at a lakeside resort 2 towns over, the kind of place you'd expect a wedding, not a hospice charity dinner. Crystal chandeliers, wine that probably cost more than my monthly groceries. Tessa floated across the room in a silver dress that shimmered like water. Brad arrived late, pulling up in a brand new BMW. They spoke beautifully that night, told stories about brave patients and selfless nurses, except there were no names, no photos, no specifics. I remember clapping anyway, because it's easier to trust a lie when it's wrapped in what you want to be true. After the gala, I sat in my car for a long time, engine off, watching them through the venue window. Brad laughing with investors, Tessa posing for pictures. Something inside me shifted. For the first time, I wondered if I'd made a mistake. But then I thought of Grace, her soft voice, her trust in people. I told myself, no, Arthur, don't let grief make you paranoid. So I went home and ignored the ache in my gut. It was by pure coincidence that the truth found me. I was in the grocery store one morning when I ran into Linda, a hospice nurse who had taken care of Grace during her final days. We talked for a while. When I mentioned healing hands, her expression changed immediately. Arthur, we've never gotten a dime from them. None of us have. I've checked. They don't fund any hospice in the area. Her words hit me like cold water. That night, I didn't even turn on the lights when I got home. I went straight to my desk, opened my laptop, and began digging. Every email, every PDF, every receipt, all clean, all perfect. Too perfect. No client names, no vendor IDs, no bank details, just a glossy illusion of transparency. Then, scrolling through social media late that night, I found Brad's Instagram. Public. And there it was, him on a yacht in Cabo San Lucas, champagne glass in hand, Tessa in a bikini beside him. Caption: living our best life, healing hands, healing hearts. My hand was shaking when I clicked save. Every ounce of grief, guilt, and trust curdled into one burning thought. You used Grace's name to steal. The next morning, I was in their office before the coffee machine even finished brewing. It wasn't what I expected. Sleek glass walls, designer furniture, the kind of place that screamed profit, not charity. Brad welcomed me with that politician's grin. Arthur, always good to see you, my friend. What brings you in today? I set the printed photos and receipts on the desk. You can start by explaining why a hospice charity is paying for yachts, luxury cars, and beach vacations. Tessa's smile froze. Brad's brow tightened, but he tried to laugh it off. Arthur, you've misunderstood. These are administrative retreats, business expenses. You know, team building, fundraising, networking. Team building? I snapped. You mean money laundering. He stood, tone sharpening. You're out of line, old man. Maybe grief's clouded your judgment. That did it. I saw red. Because in that one sentence he took every ounce of my pain and used it as a weapon against me. That smirk, the arrogance, it was like he believed he could rewrite the truth itself. I didn't yell. I just gathered my papers, looked him dead in the eye, and said quietly, you picked the wrong man to con. Then I walked out, humiliated, shaking, but burning with purpose. They thought they could bury the truth under charm and designer suits. But numbers don't lie, and I was done being their fool. For the first few days after that confrontation, I barely slept. I'd wake up before dawn, sit at the kitchen table with Grace's photo beside my laptop, and just stare at the screen. Part of me wanted to believe there had been a misunderstanding, that maybe I'd overreacted, that grief was, in fact, clouding my judgment. But the more I thought about Brad's smirk, the clearer everything became. They weren't confused. They weren't disorganized. They were strategic. They'd found the perfect demographic, generous retirees, people still raw with loss, people who wanted to believe their pain could build something good, and they'd turned that hope into profit. Well, if they thought I was just another naive donor with a soft heart and a pension, they were about to find out what a lifetime of auditing had taught me. I started small, with what was public. Every nonprofit registered in the U.S. must file a Form 990 with the IRS, listing income, expenses, and salaries. It's supposed to ensure transparency. Except Healing Hands records were a masterclass in deception. Dozens of vague entries under consultant fees, administrative overhead, travel expenses. Hundreds of thousands in grants to local partners, with no listed EIN numbers, which any legitimate recipient would have. I started cross-referencing vendors, addresses, phone numbers. Many didn't exist. Others traced back to P.O. boxes or luxury apartment complexes. And then I found the one that made my pulse spike. A $28,000 team-building retreat, booked through a travel agency in Boston. Destination, Maldives. 2 first-class tickets. Traveler names, B. Moore and T. Moore. I leaned back in my chair and whispered, "Got you." For weeks, I built what I knew best, a paper trail. I printed copies, highlighted patterns, made timelines. My dining table turned into a command center. At night, I'd talk to Grace's photo. "You always said my obsession with numbers would bore people to death," I'd mutter. "Guess it's finally useful." And though her picture never answered, I swear, some nights I felt her pride in the quiet. Every con, no matter how clever, leaves fingerprints. And soon the little inconsistencies began forming a pattern too perfect to ignore. Brad and Tessa had created at least 4 shell companies, all consultants on paper. Each one funneled donor money into their personal accounts under layers of fake invoices. When I pulled property records, I saw they'd bought a $1.6 million lakefront home, paid in cash, through one of the shell companies. Their website listed success stories, patients they'd helped. I reverse searched every image, stock photos, every single one. Each discovery made my chest tighten, not just from anger, but from betrayal. They hadn't just stolen money. They'd hijacked the language of compassion. They'd used grief as currency. I knew what I had wasn't enough on its own. If I went to the police without airtight proof, Brad and Tessa would spin it, frame me as a bitter old donor. And knowing how slick they were, they'd probably sue me for defamation. So I needed an ally, someone who could take my quiet pile of numbers and make the world listen. That's when I remembered Ellen Ward, an investigative journalist I'd read about years ago. She specialized in uncovering charity fraud, the kind that preyed on vulnerable people. I reached out, not expecting an answer, but 2 days later, I got an email. "Mr. Blake, I'd be interested in hearing what you have. Can you meet me in Burlington this Friday?" When I met her, she was nothing like I expected, sharp, brisk, and skeptical. She flipped through my stack of binders with the detached precision of a surgeon. Then she looked up and said, "You did all this yourself?" I nodded. "Retired accountant." A corner of her mouth twitched. "Well, Mr. Blake, I think you might have just found your second career." That was the first time I'd smiled in months. Ellen dove in headfirst. For the next 3 months, we worked in secret, me tracing numbers, her chasing people. She tracked down former employees of Healing Hands, a few nervous, one furious. A receptionist told her she'd been fired after asking about missing payroll funds. A project coordinator admitted she'd never once seen a single hospice grant approved. Ellen recorded everything. Each story, each detail, layered onto the growing mountain of proof. She even managed to get a recording of Brad boasting to a private investor about their profit margins. A charity shouldn't have profit margins. And just like that, our story became bulletproof. On a gray October morning, Ellen called, "Arthur, it's live." Her article went up on the Herald's website under a headline that burned itself into my brain. "The charity that lied about cancer. How Healing Hands stole from the dying." Within hours, it exploded. Local news picked it up. Then national outlets, TV anchors saying Brad and Tessa's names like they were synonymous with betrayal. Their social media accounts vanished overnight. But the screenshots, oh, they spread faster than truth ever could. By that evening, the IRS and the State Attorney General's office had launched formal investigations. Their accounts were frozen, their donors furious. I sat in my recliner, laptop open, coffee untouched, watching the comments flood in, people demanding justice, former donors confirming my findings, hospice workers expressing gratitude. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. 3 weeks later, I attended the court hearing. Brad and Tessa sat at the defense table, looking deflated. No sparkle, no charm. Just two people realizing the show was over. Brad tried to meet my eyes once, and when he did, I saw it, the moment the illusion cracked completely. No defiance, no arrogance, just fear. The judge read the charges aloud. Fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion. Over $2 million stolen. They pleaded guilty. Got 5 years each, with partial restitution to donors. Every car, house, and account they'd built on stolen grief was seized. When the gavel came down, I didn't cheer. I just exhaled, quietly, completely, because it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. And I had balanced the ledger. A few weeks later, I received a check in the mail. My portion of the restitution. I held it for a long time, tracing the ink. Grace would have smiled at me and said, "So what will you do with it, Mr. Numbers?" I knew the answer before she even asked. I donated it all, every cent, to a local hospice foundation that I'd personally vetted. This time I visited them myself. I met the nurses, saw the patient rooms, read the real names on the walls. When the director thanked me, I told her, "Don't thank me, thank Grace." 6 months later, the hospice unveiled a new wing, a calm, sunlit space where families could say goodbye with dignity. At the entrance hung a brass plaque, "In loving memory of Grace Blake, where kindness can't be faked." I stood there alone for a long time, fingertips tracing her name. The ache was still there. It probably always would be, but beneath it was something stronger. Peace. Because I'd finally done what I'd promised. I'd paid kindness forward. Not through blind trust, but through truth. Looking back now, I realize evil doesn't always wear horns. Sometimes it wears smiles, charity pens, and handshakes. It flatters you. It makes you feel seen. And while you're basking in that warmth, it empties your wallet and your faith. But truth doesn't need charm. It doesn't need applause. It just needs someone brave enough to speak. So if you've ever been told you're too trusting, too kind, too naive, don't let them shame you for that. The problem isn't that you cared. It's that they didn't. If this story hit you like it hit me, take a moment to hit that like button. It helps others find it. And tell me in the comments, have you ever seen someone twist good intentions for their own gain? Because sometimes your story might be the truth someone else needs to hear. Until next time, stay kind, stay sharp, and never let greed steal your grace.